to dance, taking a chance. Telling me 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 to dance, taking a chance.
Hello, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. We are live today talking about GitHub for startups. And we are live in a nice APAC-friendly time zone, which is pretty good for me. I'm based in Australia. And so today I'm going to be joined by one of our awesome GitHub for Startups team members, Alex Malebranche. Alex, great to have you here.
No, it's fantastic to be here. How are you, man?
I'm good. I'm very good. How are you?
Good, man. I'm living the dream. I cannot complain.
Yeah, awesome. So we are on opposite sides of the planet, almost.
Yes.
You are based in Texas, is that correct?
That is correct. Houston, Texas, where it is stormy and dark here. Hopefully I don't look too tired. We're enjoying our time here.
That's right. No, I appreciate you coming in at this time as well to speak to everybody. So we're going to talk about GitHub for startups, but I think a good place to start might be talking about your background. So what is your background in the tech industry and beyond, and what's brought you to where you are now?
Love it. Well, to start, before I even go there, shout out to all my APACers. And I've got people in Sydney, used to live in Sydney for a little bit. Me and my now wife, so about 7 years ago or so. So we miss Sydney, Australia every moment of every day. So shout out to my APACers. But no, I was in the military in the States here as an intelligence analyst for a number of years before I started my career in tech. And so once I ended in the Army, got my degree, I worked at Amazon and AWS for a number of years and a few other tech companies after that. And after building a few tech companies kind of doing their thing, I decided that it was probably my turn to try building my own. So about 2 years ago, I started building my own company and raised some venture capital and enjoyed that very much as you can enjoy building a company in the middle of a pandemic. But yeah, it was a lot of fun, learned a whole lot, but then wanted to continue to leverage some of the learnings that I gained in my entrepreneurial life with some founders within GitHub. So as luck would have it, GitHub was starting a startup program, and excited to be a part of what they're hoping to do over the next couple of months as we get started.
Yeah, awesome. And so 2 years ago, that's a tough time to start a business, right?
Yes, it was. I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. And I told myself, like, I wouldn't be an entrepreneur unless it really, like, the idea just came and hit me right in the face. Because, you know, a lot of times when you think about being a business owner and entrepreneur, it really detracts from your family life. And I've always wanted to be a husband and a dad. And so I thought to myself, like, Shout out to Georgia. I see you. I thought to myself, if I chose to be an entrepreneur and chase that, I would miss out on a lot of family stuff. So it actually happened where I was on paternity leave with my second daughter, and the idea came to me while I was on paternity leave, and I decided to go with it. So definitely was not planned. But you cannot plan those kinds of things. And I went with it, and it turned out to be a really good opportunity for me.
Yeah, that's great. So I know there's probably a handful of people watching who have either got their own startup or they're looking at doing that.
Yeah.
And I think I'd like to talk to you a little bit about your experience with building that company, not necessarily just in a pandemic, but in a remote way, using online tooling and being able to speak to team members across the world and all that kind of stuff that's really relevant these days. What are some of the biggest lessons that you think came out of that period of time while you were building?
So that's a great question, because I think one of the terms that's kind of thrown around a little bit too often, especially when it comes to entrepreneurship, is being scrappy, right? And I'm not really sure if too many people know what that actually means. Like, that really means like at any moment, like really thinking about what can you do with the resources you have at that very moment. So as I sit here at my desk, what is around, what is on my Google, what's on my Google tab, what things do I have at my disposal at this moment for me to get started or move to the next level. And so when people think about getting started, I run into a lot of people that are like, man, I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I don't have the guts to start something. Like, how did you do it? And as cliche as it is, it's really just, you start. Like, you think, in this moment, I thought to myself, okay, this is what I want to accomplish. What's like the bare minimum I need to accomplish that? And at the time, it was a $19 a year landing page and a Stripe account that was free. And that's how I was able to start my company, with $19. So it's really just thinking about, what is it that I want to accomplish and how can I start to accomplish that? Right? It's not going to be perfect, but how can I start to accomplish it with the tools and resources I have at my disposal right now? And that's part of what startup programs like GitHub and a bunch of others are trying to do, is trying to allocate more resources to individuals or teams so that they can feel more empowered to start their companies without feeling like they're ill-prepared.
Yeah, because I mean, what you want to focus on really is the stuff that is going to make you succeed as a company, not, working out where your code lives, or, how these tools are going to work for you. You don't want to be painting the bike shed all the time, which
absolutely.
You want to be focusing on the right things.
There's definitely steps to be taken, but like when you're talking about like, how do I get started, or talk to people that are looking to get started, right? It's really just about starting. Don't worry about how perfect it's going to be or function or look. You have time to iterate and make that a little bit better over time. It's really just about getting your feet on the ground and start taking those steps towards the goal.
Yeah. Is there a place for kind of a subset of free tools? So I've been using GitHub for quite a while before I started working at GitHub as well. And initially it always seemed as like, this is the place where my code lives. Like that's about as far as it goes. Yeah. And then you start looking at the other things you need for your process or for your software engineering, and there's just options all over the place. Choosing the right ones and trying to avoid getting stuck in a corner, I think is something that would have worried me. Do you have any advice around that?
Yeah, so that's a really good point. There are a lot of programs or websites that do a really good job of consolidating a lot of these different tools that you might need to start a company and giving them to you in kind of one solid view. So if you're looking at things like Startup Stack, or I believe Carta has a marketplace, Startup Grind, Brex, a lot of these different companies create marketplaces where they take 20, 25, 30 different companies and their startup programs and their free offerings, and say, hey, if you need HR, here's 5 options for that. If you need software development, here's 3 options for that. And so utilize sites like that provide more of a marketplace So you can kind of see the breadth of all the different programs out there, because there are a lot of tech companies across the world that are giving out free resources for any tech companies. If you're a female founder, there's special programs for female founders, founders of color. And so there are a lot of different resources that you can tap into just by doing a Google search for startup resources. So like I said, Startup Stack, Carta, Brex, there's a lot of them out there, Startup Grind. There are a lot of them out there where you can kind of see a full view of different products that you may or may not need, and kind of make a decision based on what's there in front of you. And that's for people that aren't involved in like accelerators and incubators. A lot of those, partners have those marketplaces embedded in their program as well.
Yeah. I was about to say as well, we're not really necessarily talking about seed programs and VC funding and things like that. There's a lot of tools out there.
Yeah, there are plenty of tools. Like if you haven't been funded yet and you're literally at the very beginning, there are tools that can be used regardless of whether you're with a partner or not. So if you're a founder, like there's an ecosystem out there that is honestly praying for you to succeed, right? They're providing as many things, whether they be services or mentorship, capital, of course. There are a lot of different resources out there that are made available to you so that you can succeed. And so a quick Google search can help you kind of identify where those things can be found. Right.
So let's talk a little bit about, so your background is military, and then you went into your, worked for AWS for a bit. You worked on your startup a little bit, and you were really focused on the product itself. Do you think that's the right place to focus, that really strong kind of idea that you had?
So, I think it obviously depends on your individual business. When you're kind of, I was a solo founder. And so for me, it was really about what do you prioritize? And without a product or a service, right, there really is no business. So for me, it really focused heavily on creating and, really, sprucing up that part of it before I continued to go on to the marketing piece and social media and all these other different levers that you can pull, right? Ideally, you would have a team that you're founding with, and you can kind of knock these things out simultaneously. But definitely it's about, remembering why you started the company is what's going to help you succeed. And so what I mean by that is many people a lot of the more successful startups come because an individual or a group of individuals realize, hey, I'm having this problem. And then they go out to find or to create a solution for that problem. And so as you create a solution for that problem and identify other groups of people that are experiencing the same problem, that's how you start to get people to come on board and say, yeah, I will pay money for this. I will invest in this. And so, focus on what that product, that service is. The rest of it might not be, super organized or sexy or whatever it is, but the product is what's going to get you to the place that you want to be.
Yeah, definitely. So that next step of, we've got this product idea. We think that what we're creating is valuable to people. A lot of people, I think, that I've heard in the community are thinking, well, the next thing is we need funding. We need to be able to purchase the software that we need to operate. We need cloud compute time. We need all of that kind of stuff. Is this where programs like GitHub for Startups and others can come in?
So it starts way before even getting to that point, right? So to give you a little background of the company that I started, it was called Plane Ahead. And what happened is anytime after you purchase your airline ticket, if the price continues to go down, we'll actually exchange the ticket for you. Same flight, same time, everything like that. But if the price went down, the difference in price, you'll get back in an airline credit. And so if you think about, you're living in Houston right now and it's $500 to go visit my grandma in Florida. Well, 2 weeks from now, it's $300. That $200 difference, the majority of the time you miss out on. But now with Plane Ahead, we were able to say, hey, that $200 difference, you actually get back in an airline credit. And so you think about the process that would need to happen in order to automate that. It's actually very technical, without getting into the weeds. And so, you would think, all right, if that was my idea, how did I build it without any money? Well, I kind of alluded to, it started with a $19 landing page and a Stripe account. And what I would do is I said, hey, I believe it first started off as, I think it was either $20 or $50, something like that. So, hey, for $50 a year, you send us your itinerary, and it was just a Google Workspace that I purchased for $6. Send us your itinerary in an email, and then I manually would check the flights every day. So, when you think about like, okay, well, how do I get the money, the capital to start? Before I even raised any money, I had 100 customers that I was manually checking flights for. So people would send me their flights. I would have a Google spreadsheet, and I'd say, all right, like from 1 a.m. to 4 a.m., like I'm looking up everyone's, this one's got a flight change. I will do it for them automatically. And then from their perspective, all they see is an email come through, but that was me in the middle of the night, doing this. So a lot of people think like capital is what's going to unlock the opportunity for you. And that's not the case, right? It's if you've really got a problem correctly identified and a solution that works, there are going to be ways that you can start to validate whether that's the right solution or not that do not require money. And that's when you're talking about pre-seed and seed investors, that's what they're looking for. Like going back to that buzzword of scrappy, right? They're going to look to see like, hey, this is a good idea, but what have you done to further that from an idea to something else?
Almost like it seemed like a Mechanical Turk kind of thing. Where
100%, absolutely.
I have seen that kind of practice happen a little bit before. Like there is a process that can be automated, great, but you can't do everything like you were alluding to before. You've got a finite set of resources. You need to put them in the correct location. So some things are not going to be, the beautiful technical solution that you want straight away.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's about just understanding where your gaps are. And, for something like that, I was 2 years in and we still don't have a fully automated process. And so there are customers that are still looking for us to get a little bit better in some ways or another. And I don't shy away from that, right? We email out customers and say, hey, like you're not having the best experience that you're hoping for. Like what things are you struggling with so that we can put that on our roadmap to get better. And as we get more resources, we'll start to prioritize that. And so, don't try and be something you're not, right? It's like everybody that is investing in a startup, even if it's not like from a kind of investor perspective, but like a customer that sees you for the first time, right? They more times than not know what they're getting into, right? Like, hey, I've never heard of this before. It's a cheap price. Sounds pretty cool. I'll take a flyer out on it. And they're there to give you feedback, right? They give you feedback, and that's what helps you iterate so that you're creating something that's structured around what the customer wants as opposed to what's in your head, right? Because a lot of companies that are building for their customers are the ones that are making it far along.
Because that's an interesting point, because we always hear this kind of fake it till you make it thing, but you're saying that you probably shouldn't pretend that you're this gigantic, heavily backed company if that's not what you are, to set expectations and have a relationship, I guess, with the customers, it seems to me.
100%. Yeah, having a relationship with the customers is important because to some degree, right, I think this is an overgeneralization, but I think it rings true, a good amount of times. Like people are rooting for the underdog or rooting for people that are trying to make their way, right? So if you say, hey, like I'm charging you, I think right now we're charging people $99 for the year, right? So you can give us as many itineraries as you want for the year. And there's a customer this week that got on the same flight 2 credits back, one for $90 and one for, I believe, $68. So she made her money, more than her money back in a week, right? Yeah. And so that we could very, very well be charging more, right? But that the amount that we're charging allows us to say, hey, like we're still scrappy, we're still learning. Yes, you might get way more than the value of what you paid, but we're also hoping that you can provide us some feedback as well. And so, yeah, it's not about, being the, monster company that's, revenue. At this stage, right, there are things that you want to focus on and customer experience and how your product works and kind of where, like what market are you serving and what solution did you create a problem for? That stuff is more important.
Okay. That's really good advice. So I'm hearing a few things. That number one, just getting started,
Yes.
not getting locked up with, oh, we need these people and we need these resources, just starting.
Yeah.
Focusing on that product and establishing a relationship with customers to make sure that you can actually deliver that product. Not trying to get everything technically perfect straight away.
Yes.
You've got to be realistic about these things. Yeah.
100%. No, that's a really good recap.
Okay, awesome. I'm just making sure that I get it. Awesome. So let's talk about. So it seems like this company is still running. It's still successful.
So it's still running. Yeah, you can
running.
In APAC, not quite there yet, but you can definitely sign up for our wait list at planeahead.co. So like an airplane, planeahead.co. And yeah, hopefully we'll continue to grow and be able to serve more and more customers. Because of my kind of relationships in Australia, we've reached out to some of the Australian airlines to see how we can start to move in that direction. So yeah, hopefully you'll see it more sooner rather than later. Excuse me.
So that's great. So I think that raises an important point. So this strategy that you've got has led to this company that people are finding a lot of value from. Mm-hmm. With some of those lessons that you've had on the way through and some of the challenges, I assume as well, I'd love to know what that has taught you and what you're bringing to the GitHub for Startups world. So maybe we should start actually by talking about what GitHub for Startups is.
Yeah, great. So we kind of alluded to the fact that there are startup programs across all tech companies, right? So Zendesk and Intercom and Carta and Brex and all of these, right? And a large majority of them are providing free resources to founders, with just signing up. So you fill out the application. They say, yep, you're brand new and here are your credits. And so as a founder myself, right, I found that extraordinarily helpful, but also there are times where as I'm growing my company and needing, HR help, needing software development help, all these different things, I wouldn't know as much about the product as they might hope that I do know. And so I'd be accepting the free credits, but then I wouldn't be deriving any value from it, or at least as much as I'd hoped. And so there are startup programs that, just allow you to get free credits. But then there are some where they create more of an ecosystem for you to succeed. And so that's what GitHub has decided to invest in. Over the last couple of months, they've created a pilot, and we're going to be launching relatively soon in the next 6 to 8 weeks. So kind of keep up with that. But GitHub for Startups is creating an ecosystem where founders are going to be able to derive resources and value from our program more than just getting free seats. And so it starts with, hey, you've got 20 free enterprise seats. So as you're creating your code and needing a place to do your CI/CD, and there's a lot more that GitHub does, through project boards and automated actions and code spaces and Copilot, where we use AI to write code for you, right? There's a whole lot that GitHub does. So in addition to the free stuff that comes with it, we're also creating a program where you'll be able to network with other founders and kind of say, hey, I'm dealing with this issue. How have you solved it? Connecting you with different VCs and partners where as you're coming up on your fundraising, you can connect with some people through our program and say, hey, we're looking to raise some money and get kind of the head start. We're going to get some education. So I talked about, I would get free credits for things, but I wouldn't know how to use it. So our program is going to provide additional education and tech talks and opportunities for you to get in front of really key members of GitHub, like product leaders and even our CEO, who is super excited about the program. And so definitely a lot of different things that we're going to be doing to support the startup community in addition to just free credits.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. We think about startup programs and kind of, I don't know, for myself, I kind of expect that, now you can have some free licenses and then that's it. But that's not a thing that's necessarily going to lead to success. As you mentioned, like getting access to software but not being told how to use it and how to utilize it the best is, I've done that plenty of times. I've downloaded free software and tried it once and been like, I don't know how to use this.
Exactly. And to make the kind of example, more specific, I joined GitHub having been at AWS, and I was a technical program manager in tech companies beforehand. So I know what GitHub does. When I joined the company, in my mind, GitHub is where you can collaborate your code and collaborate with other software developers for your code. That's all GitHub means to me. Now, when I started and learned a lot more about what our platform is doing, I think to myself, had somebody had given me, I did an America's live stream earlier today, and I was asked, if you started or 2 years ago, if you were offered, GitHub for Startups, the program, would you have joined? And I said no, because in my mind, I wasn't ready to, do a bunch of code and collaborate and do CI/CD and all this other stuff. But I definitely could have used the project management, and I definitely could have used actions to help automate things. I definitely could have used Copilot when I started to bring on offshore people. And so going back to kind of educating people about the product, there are startups right now that are like, well, I'm 2 people. I'm not even a technical founder. I don't even need GitHub right now. Well, the education part of our program is going to help hopefully get to founders like that and say, hey, there are actually ways that you can leverage GitHub in ways that have nothing to do with those technical or coding abilities, right? And so that's part of what we're hoping to do, is that education piece about how versatile GitHub can be in helping to grow your company. And that's what a lot of startup programs, I believe, are missing when they're trying to allocate free credits and all these resources to startups. It's how versatile and how impactful can your software be to be the kind of one-stop shop for everything I need. Because as a founder, you wouldn't even want to see what my laptop used to look like. It was like 12 tabs open at all times trying to figure out all these different things, when you've got companies and platforms like GitHub that house 3 or 4 functionalities within its one platform, right? And so it just takes that amount of education in order for founders to be able to make that transition to thinking, oh, it's from a coding platform to a lot more.
Yes, definitely. And I mean, I've even seen organizations use some of these features when they don't really even have any code. So things like the new planning and tracking stuff, the issues and projects, you don't even need a repo really to run that stuff. And I've seen people run run boards of work they need to do without having any code in the background as well. But so there's that side of it. There's the education around what features GitHub can have, but there's also the community aspect to it, you were saying as well. So talking to other founders and talking to experts within GitHub and outside GitHub as well about how to grow and how to succeed.
Sure.
That's part of the program as well.
Yeah, 100%. That's a really important part of the program. They say there's a couple of different generalizations I could use, right? It takes a village. That's one. Or they talk about network effect. All of that stuff is very real when you're an entrepreneur, especially in today's time where it's very isolating, right? It's isolating to be an entrepreneur, period. But when you're a remote entrepreneur, right? You've got, I've got 3 laptops on my desk right now, a couple of monitors. Like, this is my life, right? And so it requires an investment in the community in order for you to reach your ultimate success. And so, yes, we're hoping to throw live events where founders get together, whether it be through a happy hour or through a tech talk where we have some product leaders of ours talk through some of the early releases that could be available. Bringing in some of our venture partners like a Sequoia or 500 Startups or Y Combinator and saying, hey, like, this is how you raise capital in today's environment. All that stuff is very important. So it's not going to be just about pushing GitHub and trying to get everyone on GitHub. It's really going to be about helping the community of startups succeed by building their business from the ground up. And it requires a lot of different levels for us to be able to say that we're going to help founders and startups in that way. And community and the ecosystem that we're creating is a large part of that.
Yep. Awesome. Yeah, that sounds fantastic. We've got a lot of people on the chat and various channels as well asking a lot of kind of questions about what's the process. Like, what you mentioned that this that the GitHub for Startups is likely to kind of take off in about a couple of months?
Yeah, about 6 to 8 weeks. And so, yeah, let me talk kind of logistically about the program, right? So you get those free seats, and there's some additional kind of perks that you'll get along the way as well. There are going to be 2 offerings for the program. And so there's going to be one specifically for startups that come through one of our partners. And so if you are a part of a venture capital partner of ours, an accelerator partner of ours, and a tech ecosystem partner of ours. And there's a list of them on our website. You can see the website kind of underneath us right now. They're going to get kind of a more feature-rich kind of, offering from us as far as possible early releases and different access to different events. But and by the way, if you go to that list of partners and you don't see a partner of yours, absolutely have them go to that page and apply, right? So if you're a part of a venture firm right now, you just got, pre-seed funding and they don't show up on that list, have them sign up as a partner. It's super easy for them to do. And just by having them sign up as a partner, you will reap the benefits as the founder to getting a more feature-rich experience from us as GitHub for Startups. But aside from that, right, even if you don't come through one of those partners, we will still have free seats for you on Enterprise and still provide education around what that means. And so, yes, we're hoping to make sure that everybody that needs that kind of assistance with not just GitHub, but starting their startup, right, they're getting that. And of course, if you go through one of our kind of preferred methods of collaborating with some of our partners, there'll be kind of additional things that you can reap, but there's going to be value to be gained for any startup out there. So go there, have your partner sign up. And obviously you as an individual startup or individual founder, you can sign up as well on our website. So our website over the next 6 to 8 weeks, as we look to launch, it's going to change slightly over time, right? As we kind of prep for launch, but have yourself as the founder or your partner sign up, apply, and we can get you access to all the things that we have for you.
Yeah, fantastic. So yeah, startups.github.com is that one at the bottom of the screen. Just before we wrap up, I just want to give a quick ask if there's anybody who has any questions. I've seen a couple flick through, but they've been quite generic about what this process is and what the next step is. And it sounds like startups.github.com is the place to go, regardless of where you sit in this whole startup area. But if there are any final questions, please just throw them in chat. Otherwise, we are going to wrap up really soon. While we're waiting just to see if anybody's doing that, I'd love to just say thank you for your time. And it's fantastic having somebody who's been through this as well, kind of be in that area inside GitHub, because you've had those challenges. You've been through all of this that the other startups are likely to go through. So it's a unique perspective, I think.
Honestly, this is my favorite part about doing what I do. Like, obviously helping to build the program and create different programming features and things that we can offer is obviously core to my job. But anytime I get to do things like this or podcasts or stage speeches, right? Because I think this is the part I believe that I didn't get enough of as a founder. Just kind of those real conversations about what people that have done it have gone through. I got a lot of the pumped up versions of what entrepreneurship is, right? I think the thing that I can kind of relate it to is like when you go on Instagram and it's like 10 ways to use for you to be a millionaire. It's like, it doesn't work like that. I got all of those stories about people raising $5 million and $8 million and $12 million, and they didn't have anything. And it's like, that's not how it works. At least it didn't for me. So I appreciate having an opportunity to be able to speak to customers or companies, individuals, founders, partners, to be able to help them along their journey, because everyone's journey is going to be a little bit different. And so part of the reason why I do what I do with GitHub, but also on my own. And so if you're a founder and you're just like wanting to talk or like figure things out, like you can find me on Instagram. It's just at my name, Alex Malebranche. LinkedIn, like I try my best to be a resource for anybody that's looking to get some of that help. So feel free to find me and I'll do my best to help out.
That's fantastic. I got one quick summary question, I guess, from Georgia that came through. We know Georgia. If you could emphasize one major takeaway from this session for somebody early in their journey, what would you highlight?
Before I answer, shout out Perth, Australia. Georgia, I see you. So the number one thing is just start. There's when you find yourself being like an entrepreneurial spirit, there's probably a part of you that's a perfectionist or like a high achiever or like really, really anxious or like, raring to go, right? And so when you get those kinds of people and then you get to a part like the start of a startup, it's like, I've got all these things to do. How am I going to accomplish it? I got to do it perfect like this. What is it that you're trying to offer? How can you do that with the things that you have at your disposal right now? And that is where you start. So I started my company with $19. I raised money eventually after, starting it with $19. I was able to get, I was slightly profitable like after like a week until I started reinvesting in my business, right? But like you can create these things with the tools at your disposal. The internet and tech companies like GitHub that are putting resources out there make it really, really easy for you if you know where to go and kind of how to portion, you want to portion yourself to be like, all right, I'm going to fix this problem right now. I know that the other things are a problem. I'll get to that later. You just want to have patience with yourself. So definitely just get started. And then as problems arise, you can and will solve them. But don't try and get ahead of them because you don't know what you don't know, as a lot of people say.
Yeah, that's awesome. Great piece of advice there. Just start. I think that's a good place to finish on as well. So those two last things, if you've got an idea, just start. Startups.github.com, and you can expect some more of that coming in the next 6 to 8 weeks when the launch will happen. And hopefully we see a lot of you being involved. And Alex, thanks so much for your time here. It's been super valuable.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate being here. Like I said, you can find me on Instagram or LinkedIn. If you need anything, I'll try my best to help out. If you're out there, planahead.co, join our wait list. That would be awesome. But no, thank you. It was a pleasure to be out here. And I look forward to doing something like this really soon.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Thank you, everybody, for joining. And stay tuned for another episode pretty soon. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.